This is Entrepreneurs Get Visible, the podcast for people who want more impact, influence, and income. I'm Anna Parker-Naples, and I'll be sharing with you proven methods from leading entrepreneurs that help you get visible as an authority in your field. Because anything's possible when you get visible. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Entrepreneurs Get Visible. Today's episode is about recommitting to finding joy within the work that you do. And I've got a bit of a confession before I go any further today. So usually when I record an episode for this podcast, I am in one of a few locations. So I would either be in my recording studio, that is now a professional recording studio with the walls and the floor and the door all changed so that they have amazing sound quality that I used a lot when I was working solely in audiobook narration. Or I'm coming at you from my office, which is a small enclosed space that has a Yeti microphone that I use in there, which is carpeted and there's quite a lot of soft furnishings in there. Or sometimes if I'm doing a live on Facebook or Instagram and I'm doing it from my phone, I will often then repurpose that live that I've used, but I wouldn't ever just use the audio from the phone itself. I would always have a plug-in microphone. Well, right now I am wholly committed to recommitting to finding my own joy and passion. And as such, I've decided that while I'm enjoying lying on the sofa, snuggling with my dog on a Wednesday afternoon, that I would do a podcast recording. I'm not going live. I'm just doing the audio from sitting on the sofa, which is quite unusual for me because I'm not in full-on presenting mode, but I have got my clip-on mic with me. I've just been listening to a brilliant episode of the Diary of a CEO podcast, which is often one of the podcasts right at the top of the charts in business in the UK by Stephen Bartlett. In some ways, that podcast is the bane of my life because when we launch shows, it's notoriously very hard to knock Stephen off the top spot at the moment. He's very often at the top or number 2 or certainly within the top 5. And I've just listened to a really long, in-depth interview that he's done with Jimmy Carr, the comedian, all about Jimmy's new book. And I can't for the life of me remember it, but I've just downloaded it onto Audible to go and give it a listen. And it's a combination of Jimmy's work as a comedian and also his very open, smart and intelligent take on what happiness really is and how we can find that. And I don't normally go and recommend you go and listen to someone else's podcast unless it's one of our clients, but this really did. I really enjoyed this conversation and it was very apt for where I'm at now. And there was a conversation that they were having about the people who are doing exceptional things, who are getting exceptional results in their life. They are potentially talented people, but in order to get the exceptional result, you have to put the hard work in. And they were talking about the myth of just having talent and getting lucky with your talent, and that isn't actually the case, that often it's the people who then found the thing that they really enjoy and been doggedly giving attention and effort towards it. And then that led to a discussion between the difference between hard work and smart work. Because I think in the entrepreneurial space right now, and certainly in the online space, there is this myth that you have to be constantly on. We see entrepreneurial business leaders professing that you can have time freedom. And yet what we actually see is them doing Facebook Lives from their hospital beds or, constantly being on. And that, to me, that isn't smart. So I'm going to get you to think today about how can you be smarter in what you're doing. If you're getting to a point in your business where you're no longer actually enjoying the day-to-day, what do you need to evaluate and remember and recall in order for you to go ahead and re-find the joy in what you're doing? I think sometimes, and myself included in this, we find a groove and we are potentially modelling what we're seeing others doing. And we push ahead. But actually in that pushing, are you losing a sense of yourself? Whose goals are you actually trying to reach? And I'd encourage you to think about what I'm doing right now, the way you are living your life right now. If you continued to do this for the next 6 months, would you like the results that you got? So yes, you may well achieve a financial goal, but at what cost? Would you like the amount of hours that you've put in? Would you like the sacrifice that you have made for your relationships and your family and your own sense of well-being, your own health, your own mental health, physical health? Now speed that on 12 months. So if you change nothing about your life for the next 12 months, nothing about what you focused on, nothing about how you look after yourself, would you like where your life was? And then 5 years. If you don't make changes to what you're doing right now, in 5 years' time, would you like that destination? Because the thing is, if you don't like that destination in 5 years' time, the time to make changes is right now. So if you've got this knocking feeling, this nudging feeling, this niggling feeling that what you're doing right now is not sustainable, now is the time to reflect on that. And as I'm recording this, we're coming up towards the end of November. It won't actually be that long until we're in the throes of festivities and Christmas. What happens if you allow yourself to take stock of where you are or are not finding joy in your business? I'm a big believer that our lives and our businesses are not indistinguishable if we are particularly a solo entrepreneur, if we are the leader of our business. And if you aren't finding joy, you aren't performing at your best. And maybe you had that joy, but for whatever reason that has subsided. How can you allow yourself time to evaluate what's really working and the life you really want to build for yourself? This has been a really powerful few months for me. I've shared with you, particularly on the last episode of Entrepreneurs Get Visible, that I've had to, because of family circumstances, I've had to withdraw a little bit from lots of business and personal things. And it's given me so much pause for thought about what I'm doing and where I'm going and how I want to move in the world, what kind of life I'm creating. That doesn't mean I'm turning away from everything that's gone before, but it's making me evaluate where I want to go next. So I wonder for you what that looks like. What is it you need to commit to or potentially recommit to? Are you still building the business you set out to build? Or have you diversified so far along the way that what you're doing today isn't actually what you set out to achieve? Are the values still aligned with yours? And if they're not, how can you recalibrate so that they are? You are always going to get better results in your work and your life if you find joy and passion in what you do. And I don't think that means being ecstatically happy every single moment of the day. I don't think that is what it's all about. But if you don't believe in yourself and the future that you're building for yourself, how will you ever get there? How will you ever feel satisfied? So I hope that this will encourage you today to start thinking about what you need to recommit to in order to build the real business that you want, that allows you to be the greatest expression of who you are in this world. So that is me and Oscar, who's curled up on the sofa with me right now, over and out for today's episode.
Thank you for listening to Entrepreneurs Get Visible. To get your free checklist on how to raise your profile and to find out about our community, go to annaparkernaples.co.uk/get visible.